Good night, everyone, and I want to thank you guys for joining us. It's been one of those kind of weeks, And first of all, I want to say condolences to the friends and family and loved ones of Kerry Duplessis. Um, been a tough week for most of you guys out there who knew him. Um, didn't get a chance to meet him in the flesh, but I always look forward to seeing his comments. I always look forward to seeing stuff that he posts. I enjoyed his um, Man U love. Me being an Arsenal fan, I always enjoy watching and listening and just kind of watching his posts. Uh, he was very passionate about his sports. He was also very passionate about horse racing, all the major events pretty much around the world. He paid attention to. As you can tell, my eyes are a little bit tired. It's been a very tough week for me myself too. Going really hard this week. Um, so as soon as I'm done here, I'll probably get some sleep, but probably not, knowing me. um, so yeah, Carrie is one of those guys that touch a lot of people. I can tell. You can tell by all the clips and all the slides and everything else that you see online. The big smiles that not only that he had, but the people around him had anytime that he took a picture with them. And I always say that's the sign of a person who affects people differently. Um, so in this lifetime, there's some of us who touches people in different ways, and others do the same thing as well, right? Um, as some people will say, rest in peace, Carrie Duplessis. That being said, I want to welcome everyone again. And this weekend, who we got? We got Kevin Nichols going to ride in the Tampa Bay Stakes. Mighty Heart should be interesting. I wish Kevin all the best. He's riding a big horse, a horse that won over $1 million. Um, that's not an easy task. Uh, you got some big shoes to fill, and I really hope that he can pull it off. There's a lot of good horses in that field too, and lots of good trainers and owners and everything else. So it should be very competitive. Um, Mighty Heart, you know, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow if you tune in and we watch Tampa Bay, man, and we'll see what's happening. What else is going on tonight? We got my man from Florida. He's gonna school us a little bit on how we ship horses. Uh, if you want to bring a champion to the track that you're close by, you got to contact this guy, and he will definitely set you up and put you in the right path. Uh, that being said, let's bring my man. Hey, I see my other guys there too. Hang tight, buddy. We're gonna get you in a second, but let's talk to this man here in Florida first, and let him do his thing. Uh, so, Mr. Ted Holder, um, welcome to the show, man.
Good night, everyone. How you guys doing?
Hey, look, man. First of all, let's talk a little bit about Kerry. Did you ever get the opportunity to meet Kerry?
Yes, I did. I met Kerry a few years back. One night, Slade and I took a drive down to Belmont to drop some horses up, and Kerry was all in awe. He wanted to come and meet us. So he met up with us, and we went out and had some roadies in the city.
Hey, look, go ahead.
Kerry, as you said earlier, Kerry was a big fan of sports in general. But one thing I will say about Kerry, Kerry was one of the first to get Barbados horse racing streamlined on social media. I mean, Kerry was out there on posting on Facebook back in, I would say, 2009, 2010, about stuff that was going on. He was recording Barbados races and posting them a couple days later. You know, he was one of the stalwarts in getting Barbados racing, BTC racing online. Uh, I would like to pass my condolences on to his friends and family, especially the young man who had the tough task of discovering Kerry on Monday. Nicholas, my heart goes out to you, brother.
Yeah, that's uh yeah, that's gonna be tough. Was it Nicholas that found him?
Yes,
Is that Tomlinson?
yeah,
Oh
very
my
close
goodness.
friend. I mean, they were buddies for a few years, and when Nicholas joined the Cassie team, they became even closer, and
Oh
they
my
just
goodness,
lived
man.
minutes apart. Well, less than
You
an
know,
hour apart. You know.
I saw the GoFundMe page, and I saw Nicholas had set it up, and so I reached out to Nicholas, and Nicholas is going to join me here on Monday. We're going to chat for a bit, but I didn't realize he found him. So my approach now is going to be different now because uh, that that's pretty tough. That's pretty tough. Um, um, yes, Ted. So let me just shake myself a little bit here because I'll tell you something, man. I never met Kerry, but like I just there's people who touch you differently, and after meeting him online, like online stuff, I couldn't shake it for a little bit. Every day, every time I put this Facebook thing on, and I see his face, and I just couldn't shake it. But I guess we got to move on, right? We got to move on.
Yeah, he was a bubbly guy. I mean, you can always message him. I mean, many times I didn't have the chance to get the link for the turf club, or I'm having trouble getting the URL. I can just text Kerry, "Hey, Kerry, send me the link. It's there." You know, even if he's on top of a roof, it's in the AC. He'll say, "Give me 5 minutes," and he'll get it there for you.
And let me I see Darwin popped on. I'll let him see if he ever met Kerry. Maybe he did. I'm not sure. And before we start our conversation, because Ted, you're doing such a wonderful job, man. You're adding to the sport, you're adding to the activity in Barbados. There's a lot of people that probably know what you're doing, and some people who really don't know what you're doing. But uh, Darwin is on here tonight, and see if he knew Kerry. I'm not sure or not. Uh, Mr. Darwin Clark. Um, hey man,
Hey, good night, guys. How you guys doing?
we're good, man.
Peachy, peachy.
I
Did you get the opportunity to meet Kerry Duplessis?
not in person, but I online because I trying to remember how I met him. I think I had an Instagram at some point, and he reached out to me, and I friended him, and we talked for a little bit. And he said that I knew him, and I said, "Well, you're probably too young." And he told me his dad was a guy we used to call Fatty in Barbados, and we always used to fight gamecocks together back in the day. And he said, "Yeah, you came in my dad's yard so many times and this and that." So we chit chat about that. But yeah, he was a big horse fan. I enjoyed the time we spent talking and stuff like that. Really passionate guy. Met a lot of people. He documented all he met. He was a good guy. Very, very good guy. He'd be missed. Super fan is what you have to call him. He loved
Yeah,
horses.
definitely.
But
Uh, yep. It was a shocker. But in this lifetime, they say we got one life, but I always say it's the memories and always the people that you meet throughout this lifetime, and how you go about your life that separates you from others. What do you want people to remember you as, right? And I'll tell you something, in Carrie's case, a lot of love, a lot of love from people from all over the world too, man. you know, all over the world. It's crazy, you know. That being said, Ted is going to school us, Darwin. He's going to school us on some, you know, how to ship a champion.
Well, before we get into that, can I just say my piece with Ted? I mean, I thought the man was my friend, but the man shipping horses to beat me and stuff like that. So I'm not really happy with Ted right now. I mean, he's a good guy, but he's not my favorite person right now. He lost a few points there.
Yeah. Ted is a prankster.
No, I'm happy for him though. I mean, the man, I would say the last year, I don't think the man is beaten in the top class when it comes to shipping. I mean, I haven't really went back and dug into his record, but it got to be outstanding. And he just shipped 2, and he won a big race and ran second in another race. So, I mean, he's a point man if you want to ship. So, kudos to Ted.
We have another surprise guest here tonight, and he's just logging on, but we need people to see his face. So,
Okay.
Sir, if you can adjust your camera, adjust your screen so people can see that pretty face that you have.
I like these surprises. You don't know who's going to pop up.
Well, you know, that's the joy about popping up. You know, you never know who you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So let's introduce.
Yeah.
Is it Derek?
Well, he figured out his pop up.
What's that, Ted?
Is it Mr. Lynch?
No, he's not that high tech, Ted.
Man.
No, John Moore. Oh my God.
Oh, Mr. Cozier.
Good night, guys.
Hey, welcome, my man.
Thank you.
Hey, I have to go, man. You guys invite the enemy, so I gotta go.
Darren, do all right, man. Do all right. We are here for the love of this game, you know.
Exactly. That's why we're here.
Hey, listen, welcome, man.
Thank you, Derek.
Congrats, John Mark.
Thank you, Darren. Coming from you, it means a lot.
Yeah. Well, I most of the fans or the viewers, they probably don't know we spoke after the race, so.
Yeah, it's true.
But nice horse you got there, man. Really nice horse.
Yeah,
I tell you what,
two great fillies as well. You know, you can't discount those fillies. They ran their hearts out, and I think that race will actually bring them on because they haven't really been well. Besides Vividly, she ran at 9 before, and she proved herself there quite a bit. She ran a decent race there again. Jocular, I think that was her second time testing the distance, so she could only improve from there, you know.
Yeah, well, I think your guy would improve too after he.
Hope so.
Yeah, he got acquainted with the track, so he should be better suited next time.
Yeah, let's keep on my finger.
I want to add to this dialogue just slightly, and people joining might be saying, "Hey, look, you got a bunch of horse guys, and you say one of these guys don't look like the other, like all the other guys." And I just want to say, John, take the time just to adjust your camera so that you know it kind of looks like ours.
I tried to go from my computer, but I haven't used my computer volume for a long time. So apparently tonight it just decided to give up the ghost. So I am on my phone. You can see. You need. I try to get a little bit more still. You know.
Yeah, if you can twist the screen, just turn the screen on the other way, and it probably will be fitting the full screen. Right now is kind of like in the middle. Oh yeah, much better.
There we go. Much better.
There you go. Much better.
Cool.
All right. So now we all look alike.
Me and Darren, we're gray, man.
Yeah. It's because we call each other before the show.
Got a tough time getting me anything other than yellow, so leave an axe.
How does it feel, my man, to win that big race?
Well, it's actually my second time winning it, almost 20 years apart. I won that race with a horse called Lion Country back in 2004. A first crop son of a Fleet Alex. I'm sorry, I'm not in a Fleet, sorry.
defeating the great Garrison Bully Feet on Flames
Okay.
back at that time. So it's actually my second time winning. But it was a great feeling, you know, after having our eye on this horse, Ted picking the horse up in Canada for us. He did a tremendous job in prepping the horse in Ocala, keeping him going. You know, we had good dialogue between the two of ourselves for quite a while. And as you will see, it paid off.
Yeah, yeah. And was it an easy ship and the horse settled in really well? Because I mean, the horse ran really well. So I'm just wondering if everything went as planned.
Well, to be honest with you, right, that horse is a bit of a freak in the sense that I've shipped many horses to Barbados before over the past 20 years. I mean, I do it. Ted will probably tell you I was the one kind of got him involved in the shipping originally, because we had some people shipping horses for us over the years, and the horses were coming here. They were in such good care. They were just basically throwing the horses in a quarantine and getting the vet work done, not looking back at the horses until it was time to ship. And in a case like this horse was coming to race, so it had to be, you know, kept up to breast and kept training and kept sung. So in saying that, this horse shipped over here, and it is like, if he got in a trailer and just took a drive, he shipped impeccably. He got off the plane, his eyes were bright, he was looking around. He's a very curious type horse. So he got off the plane, and he was like, that 3.5 hour journey from Florida here on the plane didn't do him anything. He went straight into his stall at the Garrison. He ate, he drank, and he settled right in. It was almost amazing, because I've never seen a horse settle in at that fast. He's just like a professional.
Wow. Well, I can tell you one thing though, Mark. You know, it's setting up to be a very good Gold Cup. You know, it's looking juicy and spicy. I mean, especially if the field is as big as they say it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very nice race, and the fans will be very, very happy with the turnout of horses. We got Darwin Clark here with you, and you guys are competitors. But I'm pretty sure. What's your thoughts on the Gold Cup coming up, Darwin? And maybe you can kind of chime in on that.
Well, I just think that John Mark's horse would right now would be the horse to beat, because if you rewatch the Coolmore, with half mile to go, he was pulling double. With a quarter mile to go, he was still pulling double. So my job is to try to stretch him, you know, try to get him off the bit earlier, and we'll see. But I expect Vivali should move forward. I think Jocular probably has hit her peak. You know, I don't think she would move forward from that race, but yeah, I think Vivali might be able to chase him home. It's gonna be a good race for the fans, and hopefully the horses do well. You know, the main thing is coming back sound. As long as they come out the race sound, we'll be good to go.
And I imagine that So Suave came back in good shape there, John Mark.
In excellent shape. He hasn't missed a beat. You know, he had a week off. He went back this morning and jogged, and he was fussy and full of himself. He went to the beach twice after the race, and he adapted to the water like a fish. You know, for a horse that probably has never even been in a swimming pool in North America. He went out, he swam, and he totally enjoyed it. He came back clearing and bouncing around. So, you know, he will definitely be on good legs for sure.
Nice. That's good to hear. I know that you guys, like, I mean, we all see now that how vividly and Jocular and So Suave is shaping up. We see a glimpse of what's to come, but we also got some newbies still arriving. How do you guys adjust, and how do you guys approach those other horses?
Well, it's not going to change anything from my corner. I mean, they'll go about their business as usual. We're not going to do anything different, because we can't make them any faster. We just keep them fit and keep them strong, and that's it. But business as usual from my corner. I don't know about John Mark's corner.
Same here. The objective is just to keep the horses strong and fit. And, you know, I always tell people, you don't have legs, you don't have a horse. So the objective is to keep the horses strong and just take it one day at a time leading up to the race from here, you know.
Nice, nice. Now, Mr. Ted Holder, you ship a few horses down there. Do you have a favorite, or you just ship them and you just sit back and just watch and say, "Hey, look, let's see what happens."
I'll say right now, the girl is still my favorite, vividly. I mean, she and I have a bond.
Mm.
You know, she and I, we created a bond back last year, and she's still my favorite horse in Barbados. That being said, So Suave has a lot of talent. A lot of talent. It's gonna be interesting to see the two of them. They have similar running styles. So I won't be surprised if I see those two coming to the wire together come Gold
Wow.
Cup Day.
Wow, that would be real cool. Actually, I mean, that would be real cool for more ways than one, because wait a minute though. But now, does the jockey retain the mount of So Suave?
I am hoping so. You know, Patrick, and we go back a lot of years. This is the first time I've begged him many times to ride horses for me. And this is the first time he's actually gotten on one for me. And I'm hoping, based on the performance of the horse, he seemed very pleased with him, that he will stay on him. But that's a decision Patrick will have to make. And he knows that I want him to remain on the horse, but that decision is totally up to him.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess that's a very that's not a very strong confirmation, but we'll have to see, I guess.
Well, as I said, we take it one day at a time, you know.
So if Patrick doesn't ride this horse, who rides this horse?
Me.
Oh, I thought Lafitte Pinkai.
No, I am not looking that far down the road yet, Derek, to be honest. As I said, I'd be optimistic and hope Patrick stays on the horse. And, well, if he doesn't, then when I get to that bridge, I'll cross it. But Patrick, I think Patrick is a genius. You know, he's a very sensible jockey. And for that horse to come here and adapt basically right off the plane and put down such a performance, and now that he's gotten a run, I think he can only improve from there. So I am hoping that Patrick, well, he will recognize that and stay on him and hopefully bring home the Gold Cup. I don't mind being behind Jock Killer in the breeding season, but not in the Gold Cup.
There you go. I wouldn't mind either. Well, in our corner, Rocco is going to ride Vividly, and I'm not sure about Jockler yet, but Rocco definitely riding Vividly. So change a rider on Vividly.
Well, there you guys go. He's Mr. Darwin Clark confirms that Rocco Bourne will ride Vividly, and there's an unknown rider for Jocular. So we have to stay tuned for that one. For all the writers and newspaper people and everybody else who's watching, there you go. You know what? Speaking to numerous sources, people are saying, you know, it's funny because these guys is coming out the woodworks. They're saying they all want to come to Barbados to watch this Gold Cup. And why do you guys think that this is happening? Like, you know, is it the quality horses, or it's been a while?
Well, it could be a bit of both.
Oh.
It could be a while, and definitely the quality of horses. I mean, there's quality horses there now. So I think 2, 3, maybe 4 more maybe coming. So, I mean, that puts all the intrigue into it. So it's going to be a nice race. The fans are going to have a good time. Very, very good time.
Nice. Now, is there oh, hang on with it. I had a really good question to ask John Mark, and that was on the horse that ran on the undercard. Oh my goodness, I watched it from off YouTube, and this horse just that horse looked really good. Maybe he can tell me a little bit about that horse. What's the horse's name? Is it Haid?
Zaid.
My
Zaid.
goodness, that horse just looked really beautiful. Can you tell us if that horse is going to be added to the spice of things, or what's happening there?
No, he definitely. I mean, he's technically not even 3 years old yet. He's an April born foal. So he just ran against the older horses, some more second string, or what we would call the better horses in Barbados on the second string. And he beat them easily. I mean, this horse has had talent from day one. You know, he was still maturing, still growing, so I've been taking my time with him. But he's proven that he can run. There's no two ways about it, you know. I am pretty confident that if I were to put him in the Gold Cup and he was to carry 109 pounds, which would be the handicap for that race, he will run the best of these horses to the way at that handicap. You know, he's got a heart, a tremendous heart, but he's still a baby, and he's got scope ahead of him. Patrick sat on me on a couple of mornings, and he told me, he says, John Mark, that horse is a freak. He said he's a freak. He said, you don't find two of these in a lifetime. He said, I don't even know what this horse is doing in Barbados. You know, he said, ship this horse up north. This horse has no right being in Barbados. He is a freak. And that was before he raced in the last race. But he technically should have had 3 wins on his belt prior to that one, so it should have been 4. I use an apprentice who works my horses, good guy. Still learning a bit. And he made a rookie mistake by setting him on the outside of slower horses and giving him a wide trip all the way. Horses dying on the outside of him. And the other horse managed to get away by like 8 lengths. And he ran the horse the way and lost by a short head. So that was his second place that he got. If not technically, he would have had 4 wins under his belt straight. But he can step. There's no two ways about it. He will go with the best horses. So when he works in the morning, he works like a big horse. He's not, you know, not like a baby. Very professional about his work. His head is very, very steady. And I think Patrick used the right terminology. He's a freak.
I got to ask you something about this horse, because correct me if I'm wrong, but in that race itself that we were talking about, that horse won, and that horse went off at like 14-1.
I don't think he went off to 14-1 in that race. I think he was favorite. He went off at like 6-5 or
okay.
Like
Maybe it's another horse then.
Yeah, I had one called the Code who ran Boxing Day, who I think he paid some odds, you know. Yeah,
I gotta check on that because
he also won. He also won on Boxing Day too. So he also won on Boxing Day. So he won on Boxing Day and then he came back on Coolmore Day and won again.
Okay. I'll check on that myself. But
to be honest, I don't really look at the odds, right? I leave the odds for the fans.
Maybe one of the guys who are watching could refresh us and let us know the odds that the horse went off at. But you know, I was curious because I was going to say, well, this horse is such a freak, and how comes this horse went off at these long odds? It must be crazy happening. What's happening in Barbados?
Hey, John, I got a question for you. Saying that you're there on the ground, have you asked the handicapper why he moved your horse 15 points?
Doesn't make sense to ask the handicappers anything. Okay. They are law upon them own selves.
Well, I mean, the horse had 110 pounds.
Correct.
I mean, you can move him another 20 pounds in that division, but you move him. You put him in a spot where
they don't give you a chance to run back with your contemporaries, you know.
Right.
And then make you move from there.
Yeah, give him another 20
so many
pounds.
Variables that go on in a race. So many variables that go on in a race, right? And I am not going to hide it on here. I have asked the Turf Club to stop paying the handicappers in Barbados. Send all of the information off to the handicappers in the UK. If they do choose, the videos are on YouTube right after the race is run. Send the distances and all of that and the weights off to the UK. Pay a handicap in the UK to handicap the horses in Barbados because it will get a more professional job. Right? Those guys can never. I've seen a horse win when a certain jockey was riding it and I had a handicapper there before. The horse get moved by 1 pound. And because it was a connection. Okay? So I don't have anything nice to say about the handicappers. That's the honest to God's truth.
Yeah,
and I'm not frightened to say so.
But you would think they would have some type of dialogue with the owners and trainers. They're saying, hey, this is why you move your horse 15 points, or you know what I mean? Some kind of dialogue, some kind of logic behind it.
There's nothing between us. Every time we ask we don't even know the handicapper cell phone numbers. Wow. They said if you wish to know anything, send the information, email them through the Barbados Turf Club. They don't want anybody calling them.
Wow. But I mean, even people putting the races together, because tomorrow there's a 125 sprint, then there's an 80 sprint, and there's nothing in between there for the horses that want to go a distance of ground.
Nothing.
So if you have a horse ready 125 to 75, there's no race, and that should not be.
That's how it is all the time. It's about filling races. It is about filling races, but not necessarily for categories that suit the horses that we have here in training.
Right, but the 85 race, last race, they had 12 horses. So even if your horse get put up, which he should not have gone that far, you still have 11 horses that can probably come and run back between now and end of March in that distant race. But that race doesn't exist. There's no race for those horses from now to the end of March. That's 6 weeks without a race for like an undisputed, or if your horse was still in that class. I'm not sure how far to put your horse, but I know he moved 15 points.
They move him to 92.
That is crazy. I cannot find a logical explanation for that. So they're telling you that he has to run with So Suave if he wants to run a race.
That's basically it. He got around with Vividly. He got around with So Suave.
Correct.
He got with Jocular. He got around with Masaru.
I mean, there's no way. Your horse is a good horse. Don't get me wrong, but there's other ways to penalize him to make him equal with that crowd he ran with last week.
Exactly. They need to start writing condition races. That's what they need to do. Okay, that's one of the first things they need to do. Start writing condition races and let the horses handicap themselves.
Yeah. Well, I had an issue there with a handicapper because a day after the races, he didn't move Jocular. And then 2 days later, he came and he moved her. And I said, well, how can you move a horse that's staying in the stall? So his excuse to my man on the ground was he forgot to move her. And I'm thinking, how nice is that?
Move her.
He forgot to move her. So he just came out with a different classification sheet and move her up 2 points.
Yeah, I saw that.
You shouldn't be able to do that. I mean, there has to be some kind of stop gap.
Just like you, Darren, your heart is in racing. I'm glad to see you sent horses to Barbados to race. You didn't need to.
No.
Right? You didn't. That's the bottom line. I live here, and I've come out of a family of horsemen for many generations. I love the sport. And that's the reason I've invested and brought horses to Barbados. But believe me, I basically in the back of my mind, I've made a decision that because of that handicap that they just put on this horse, right after this sprint, I'll be shipping this horse out to Barbados.
Yeah, but I mean, that is nonsense. That's wrong. There's absolutely no way he should be penalized that much.
Right?
Because he's just putting you to run with the top class horses, and you have a 3-year-old.
Exactly. So
I mean,
I'm not going to run him there. I'm not going to run him there and destroy him over the next year. I think, as I said, he's talented. I can ship him up north, and if I think he's a World Cup horse for next year,
you can bring him back.
I bring him back down. But
then the people in Barbados lost a good horse.
Yeah, in the interim, exactly. If they are serious about having horses remain here and race, they need to review this whole handicap system and the way they frame and set races. Right? It's too antiquated. Right? It's the same programs repeating from time to time to time again. There's no thinking outside the box. No thinking outside the box when it comes to this handicapping system and framing the races. It's like repetition from year to year. Only thing that changes is dates, and that is it.
But what I don't understand in the framing is that they'll bring out an official program. I mean, you cannot bring out an official program. Well, you can, obviously, because they do it. But bring out a provisional program, get the input from the owners and trainers there, saying, hey, this race would be better to do this. And then they can make the final decision. But when you bring out an official program, I mean, that's it. There's no dialogue. There's nothing from the people spending the money, which is the owners and trainers.
Some of the races turn up with no entries in the scratch the race. Last race there was supposed to be a race.
But how can you not see that? How can you not see that?
4 horses entering.
As a handicapper, you have to see that.
I entered Zaid in the 7.8 because I wanted to go over the distance. Zico was entered in a 5. The 5 was on the subscribe. They scrapped it. They then turned around and asked me if they move that race to 7.8, will they enter it? I said, well, if I can withdraw my entry from the 7.8 with the older horses, and he runs with his contemporaries, he would have made up the field to run in that race. They said no.
Well,
Question.
I want to ask you guys, why does that happen? Is it because of the numbers of horses in Barbados, or is it something else?
to me, it's total ignorance, because you have to know what the numbers are. Because I can look at a top class race and tell you whether they're going to have 5 or 6, and 5 or 6 quality horses. So they should be able to see the same thing.
Well, that's what he said.
Racing
That's why he said
Secretary.
handicapping. Right? The handicapping. Horses should basically be handicapping themselves. If we had conditions races and they had conditions written in, horses will find their own slots. But with this rating, look, a couple of years back, I bought a horse from a turf club that they brought in an auction called Soca Diva. And in 3 races, they moved for 37 pounds. Okay? 37 pounds in 3 races. Basically put her in the handicap gap, which everybody knows is lacking between 85 or 90 and 110. Right? So they forced her up in there. Then they didn't have any, I had to end up running her with the 110 horses, the 115 and the 120 horses. Right? You can't beat those horses. So all I was doing was filling a gate,
Right.
for the Bentley Barbados Turf Club. Right? Eventually I got fed up and I sold it to Mr. Humphrey, and she's a broodmare. She produced a few winners for him already. You know? And that was unfortunate because she still had racing in her. But it was like with the 2 fillies they had stolen and stealing. Both of them were handicapped where they shouldn't be. For a whole year, Stolen had to run against Gold Cup winners. There's a Creole filly, mind you. Right? Gold Cup winners, Spa Sprint winners, these type of horses, all the horses rated from under 130. Right? All they was doing was filling races. When they put her down to run in the bracket, she ran out. They didn't move her down.
Wow.
You know, they're fast to move you up off a wing, but you gotta run out like 5 or 6 times before they move you. And I'm not one. Look, I'm a one-man show, right? I don't have a syndicate. I gotta go there every time that my horses run and try to make money to feed my horses.
Right.
To feed my staff. Make sure my staff gets paid, everything. So to me, it's about going out there and winning races.
Yes,
There are some trainers that work the system and they adapt horses to get them back in certain handicaps. But when you run out here, it takes you at least 4, depends on who the owner is and things like this. I'm telling you, you will see a horse go up and then quick so it will come back down. I never had that privilege of having my horses come back down. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So that is why I don't like this handicapping system. Give us a similar system to what North America uses with conditions. Horses that have earned so and so and so and so by such and such a date are eligible. If you ran so, you're not eligible. You know, horses that ran for 25, we don't have claiming, but horses that in the handicap system, you have horses that rated 90, so them let's say like $30,000 horses. But if we had those conditions written to suit for claiming conditions, but not for claiming races, obviously, because our population, nobody likes to lose their horses here.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't mind running for claiming, but
I want to ask you, John. I want to ask you. I want to play devil's advocate and ask you, what do you say to when the Barbadian fans say, why do we have to change the North American system? What would you say to that?
I say North American, but perhaps I should say what most of the rest of the world race on, not only North America, because in England you got a lot of condition races now. They don't only work the handicap system. England has kind of got a mixture of both systems. They got their handicap or rating system, and they also have races written in with conditions as well. You know, and we don't really have condition races here. The only condition race that we have written here right now is for these North American 2-year-olds that just turned 3, where they have to run against 3-year-old horses, Creole West Indian bred horses, who have not placed 4th or below, but might have had 8 or 9 starts. So they've got mileage under their belt, they've got experience under their belt, but they're taking our babies that we ship here from North America I have enough to run against 3-year-olds in their 2-year-old career.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
It should never be.
That's very tough. That's very tough.
But one of the biggest problems with the handicap system in Barbados is that the 20-pound gap that they have, because a horse doesn't get less than 110, and usually their top is like 133. So it's a 20-something pound difference. There's no way you can have 12 or 13 horses and the bottom horse have a chance with only 20 to 25 pound swing. I mean, there's like Dominus. Dominus could give most of the horses in Barbados 25 pounds and beat them. But then when you start to go on beyond, like, if you have to give them 35 pounds, they might have a shot, you know, but only with 25, because if he gets 38 and somebody has a horse that, you know, rated 55 and he has 110, there's no way you're going to beat him. But if they're open up that system where they'll make the bottom 100 and the top maybe 142, you have a better shot at a handicap stepping up a class or two with your horse, you know, that's not as good as the best horse in the race. But,
So that's not really a easy. Is that an easy shift for the culture
good as the best.
for the Barbados Turf Club and the handicappers, or is that
It used to
something
be
that
that
needs
way.
to be looked
It
at?
used to be that way. I think
All
top
right.
weight was 142 and bottom weight was 100. Horses used to run with 98 pounds in Barbados.
That's when
Somehow-
you couldn't see you standing sideways, Darwin. Those days are over.
Yeah, exactly. I think the first time I rode, I caught 93 with saddle. So
Yeah.
I obviously horse had 100 and I took off 7. But that delta is not wide enough. That 138 top, 110 bottom, it's not wide enough
Yeah,
for the
horses
horses we have there.
right here when it was Clark, and he scales with 145 pounds already.
Yeah.
Bobby's dream in sprint races carried 145 and he beat the field. Cool bird,
Correct.
you know.
But I don't know why they're. And the thing is, it's like they don't really handicap, because I handicap the races when I know who's in it, because whoever's rated, let's say it's a 95 to 65 race, the 95 horse gets top weight. Horse 2 pounds below him gets 2 pounds, 3 pounds. So the horses basically handicap themselves. I mean, there's no big swing. I mean, you might have a horse that's rated 92, but he's not in form, and he still gets only 3 pounds from the top weight. I mean, that's not right. There's no way that makes sense. But that's how they do it. Here's the top weight, and then everybody, depending on where you're rated, you get the weight from the top weight horse. That is just stupidity to the highest. And
All
there's
right.
no better
Question
way
I
to
got
say it.
about that. Do you guys think the handicapper and the person framing the races or writing the races are working together, or they know what one is doing from the other?
I mean, it shouldn't
doesn't
really
seem
matter
like
whether
it.
they're working together or not. You have to have a fair system and a system that lends itself to be competitive. So I just don't see it. It's just stupidity. When you can look at the horses entering and you basically come up with the weights yourself, Ted, you can do it. You can go look at a race tomorrow. The horse that's rated top weight gets top weight.
Correct.
And then everybody below him gets those 3 pounds or 4 pounds, depends on your rating. 5 if you're 5 away. So the handicap is not really doing its job. You know what I mean? The format handicaps itself, and that should not be.
So he obviously doesn't know how many horses are in Barbados or what races that they should be framed.
I think the word is accountability. There's no accountability for anything. So you can do as you please, and everybody falls in line.
But is it necessarily like that, or is it just an opportunity right now for handicappers or for the people who run the turf club to kind of just be aware that people are seeing stuff like this?
They don't care. That's my analogy. They don't care.
Give me
They're
one second.
showing town.
I got to plug the phone into the charger. Just give me 1 second.
No,
yeah?
no problem. What I'll do is I'll just kind of.
They're the only show in town. Where are you going to go and run? You know what I mean? You got to run at the Barbados Turf Club if you're running in Barbados.
Yeah, but it's not fair to guys to always, to have a horse sit in the stall for 6 weeks and there's only 30 race days in a year. That's asking a lot. 6 weeks where you can't run a horse.
It is.
Where the bill's going to
It
be
is.
paid. You know, people don't. I mean, he's taking clients out of the game because I don't want to feed a horse for more than 4 weeks. I don't get to run it.
Yeah, you should be able to run your horse every month, once a month, every 6 weeks. Like good horses, I won't run more than every 6 weeks, every month. But there's some hard 6-7 year olds that you can probably run, especially if you're not running on Lasix and stuff like that. You can probably run them every week. I mean, if the race is there to run. But what I don't understand and what I don't like and what bugs me is that there's no dialogue coming from anyone to have a constructive conversation about how they got to this point or their role, or this is why I came up with this and it's because of this. And it doesn't have to make sense with me, but at least have the dialogue, because I'm no expert.
But I want to ask you, Darwin, because is it necessary, like, say I'm the Barbados Turf Club, do I really have to answer to you? Do I like
You don't.
right?
Hey, if you don't like it, pack up and leave.
I mean,
that's it. But the thing is, Derek, is that okay? Let's say that's the attitude, right? They're leaving the same system for their kids and their grandkids. You know what I mean? Why not change the system? Why not bring it, kind of say, into this century because they're so far behind? But bring it where the average guy can say, okay, I can see why this horse got 110, or I can see why this horse got promoted or demoted. Be more transparent. If I have a question, I mean, anybody can call me and ask me any question. I will tell them, okay, this is why I did this, and this is why I'm doing that. That didn't need the same transparency, and you don't get it there, and it's sad.
But I always see it as an opportunity for others to learn, especially when other people are voicing their opinions about how they feel about how things are going in different situations. And I mean, perhaps they're watching, perhaps people are telling them about these situations. We'll get you in again, Mark. Just as soon as you're ready, just fix your camera and we'll get you back in. Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go.
But the thing is, Derek, is that they don't use these as opportunities for growth. I remember years ago, like if an English jockey came in, we'll say, well, we'll have a clinic, come talk to the younger boys, come this, come that, do something to help us. And we will welcome to open arms and use it as an opportunity for growth, not, oh, we don't want to hear from this person or that person. I mean, there's so many retarded handicappers. They can employ that guy's knowledge. Say, hey, look at these races. Here's a race that I handicapped. Tell me what I did right. Tell me what I did wrong. Tell me how I can improve. Stuff like that. I think, honestly, that's what they should do. Get an outside voice if you think the locals are always criticizing or whatever. But get an outside voice. There must be a retired handicapper somewhere that would do it.
Because I'm just going to play devil's advocate, because I mean, if you're the handicapper, or you're one of the handicappers, and you hear people criticizing you or saying, hey, look, this is stupidness and all that. I would probably use it as an opportunity to learn, but other people might think that you're just jabbing at them. So I mean, bringing it over to them in an active manner might be a better format.
There's no way to deliver it. That's my opinion. There's no way to deliver it. You can sugarcoat.
There's the place to deliver it right here. I hope they're listening.
Okay. All right. So look, John Mark just bought a horse, bring it to Barbados, and it won. Okay. So whether his horse had won, lost, or whatever, me being an acquaintance, I'll probably call John Mark and say, hey, what about your horse and what about that horse? And I expect a good dialogue, not, oh, he just didn't run well, or this, or he won, shut up. A good dialogue from a professional horse trainer, horse owner. That's what I'm trying to say. I think the turf club should adopt the same attitude where if someone has a question, entertain it. You might educate that person or you might learn something. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from like, you guys can either share your knowledge or learn something. But entertain the locals who has questions about your handicapping or lack thereof. That's all I'm saying.
Good point. I mean, out of 20 or 30 people, you might have 2 or 3 people that really know what they're talking about. And those are the people that will be very curious of how you're doing this. So you may go over the heads of a few other people, but for those keen observers, you probably won't pull it off. So
Right.
I think it's a good opportunity.
Well, like recently I saw there was a race that 3 or 4 horses came to the line. That's great handicapping. But my problem was there was a horse that finished like a furlong behind, and then there was one even further. How do you bring those horses into that line? And that's what handicapping is about, is try to get those horses to finish in a straight line.
Well, you know,
So-
you're saying that, but then there's some grooms and trainers out there who are probably saying, well, yeah, well, I work on my horse and I know how to get my horse that wasn't supposed to be up there. So,
Well, it's just, I mean, I'm an old man to start with, and I work in a bookie shop for years. So I've watched so many handicap races, and some of them, they might not finish in a line, but with a furlong to go, all the horses are even or in with a shot, you know? So it can be done. It's not this foreign thing that, you know, that can never happen. That can't be done. It can be done, but you have to put in some time and effort.
well, that being said, we're trying our best to get this 2023 Gold Cup, the biggest Gold Cup ever, and we're trying our best to make it the most exciting one. I'm curious to hear from you guys, especially from you, Darwin Clark, and Mr. John Mark Cozier, about the unknown horses that are coming. I know we talked a little bit about this earlier, but does it spice up the pot? We hear talk about Kenneth Ramsey. We hear talk about British jockeys that might show up. What's your thoughts? Especially we got guys like Patrick Husband, who's just jumped right back to the Gold Cup after several years, and we got up and coming young jocks in North America who are budding stars. We got younger jocks like 16-year-old Slade Jones, who's very popular over here. Like, how would you guys feel about having these guys, you know, do something as well? You know, be here just to promote the sport.
I think any promotion for the sport is good when it comes via getting good horses or having good riders. It's good for the sport. And whatever is good for the sport is good for us, you know.
Agreed. Talent does bring out a good crowd,
It
whether it's
does.
horse flesh or humans.
Yeah.
But I mean, John Mark has a very good horse. I think I have one. They're going to bring 3 or 4. Well, John Mark is saying 2, so 2. But they'll bring 3 or 4. So I mean, there's a 6 or 7 very, very good horses in the Gold Cup. Very, very good. And it's not like years past where you had 1 or 2 that, okay, they're good and the others fall right off. I think the horses are really, really good horses. I mean, the way John's horse sprint away from the crowd there. And, you know, I ran that other filly first time she ran with the top class. She did herself justice. So it's not to say that we don't have good horses. We have good horses. So we welcome the Ramseys and everybody. Come on. Hold on a sec. I got to let my dog out.
Yeah, no problem. You do your thing. We'll let you right back in once you return.
Do
Okay.
you guys think the Ramses team is as strong as it was in the past?
Well, you got to ask John Mark Cozier that, because he's the trainer and he's the one who has a big horse in the field. So I can't answer that.
I got a small horse with a big heart. Small horse with a big heart.
He's just being modest. You don't want to. You don't want to come off.
Horse,
Like,
huh?
you know what the fans said, John?
You're talking to the wrong
fans
person
said
here,
Darwin's
Cozier.
cocky. You don't want to come off as cocky.
No, but it's true. The horse is like 15 too. You know, the horse is a small horse. Considering the size of some of the other horses in the race, I mean, stature wise, he is a small horse. Just he got a lot of heart. That's what I liked about him. You know. Mr. Ramsey, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Ramsey. Safi Joseph, you can't take anything away from him as a trainer. He does a phenomenal job and is good for racing in Barbados. Yes, I would love to win the Gold Cup. That's one of my ultimate goals, like any other trainer or owner in Barbados. But it's more about uplifting the racing in Barbados and having good caliber horses come here, because it also does good for the tourism product of this country. When people get to know Mr. Ramsey, is basically put us on the map in North America by bringing horses here over the last couple of years. He's been successful with them. He got some licks, he can't win all. He got some licks in some of the other races. But it might open the door for other trainers and other owners to send horses to Barbados to the Gold Cup. What I would like to see, to be realistic, is that the purse is stepped up. Because when you convert the money back to US dollars, is like kind of middle ground, not even a real high-end stakes race in North America. So and then the cost of the horses here, having a quantity, is expected. So if this purse were to double, we will see a lot greater competition and better horses coming to Barbados. You know, we might get Bob Baffert sending horses. You might get, well, Chad Brown sent one already for Mr. Ramsey, but he may send something else. Bill Mott, Dwayne Lucas, some of the other big winners up there sending horses. So it's about promoting horse racing in Barbados, really. And as I said, I'm a diehard race fan. I like that. Born into a family of horse people. So it's in my blood. You know, a couple of times I try to shake it off, but it's sitting on my shoulder, you know. Can't get it out of my blood. And I got the next generation is coming along. I got my little son, he's 4 years old. I guess you guys might have saw him on Coolmore Day. Apparently I didn't see, but everybody was telling me about him when they went to receive the trophy. Apparently one of the photographers told him, take his hand off the trophy, let him get it. He said, no, this is my trophy. My horse just won it. You know? So,
That is funny.
my racing, hopefully that I am around for a long time to nurture them and see them come along and then get involved in it. Yeah, but it's about pushing racing in Barbados. And this, you know, me and people like the Turf Club sometimes butt heads. And they may take me in the, I guess, maybe the wrong tone or the wrong context sometimes. But the reality of the matter is, I love horse racing. I want to see horse racing get better in Barbados. Right? Is me criticizing things, it is about trying to help them to make things better.
Right.
You know? But some people take it in a negative way and say that, oh, you're only saying this because of this. But it's not about me. You know, I came up through the ranks at the Garrison. I started working at the gates at like 11 years old. Then I went from the gates to assistant clerk at the scales. And then the clerk of the scales retired. I then became the clerk of the scales at 16 or 17 years old. Probably the youngest clerk of the scale or somebody that held that responsibility anywhere in the world. You know, and it's a job that I took serious because you're dealing with people's money, wagering, etc., etc. You know?
Yeah.
And so I came up through the ranks. All that time, I had my exercise license, exercised a few horses, but I like food, right? So as you can see, 200 plus pounds. So a riding career wasn't in it for me. So the next best thing for me was training and breeding. So I took up that mantle, I think in 1999. And I never wanted to be a professional trainer or what I call a commercial trainer, because I like to enjoy my life. I got my businesses to run. I got a farm, not only with horses, I got cows, goats, sheep, pigs, rabbits, you name it, up here. And my main source is security. My main source or my main income is security, US security. So, and that takes quite a bit of my time. So I never decided to get into commercial training. Once or twice I've tried to help people with horses. Managed to get the form of them, some of them turned around, but not good enough for them. And I learned that people that come into this game, they go, they study the internet, and they come back and tell you what to do, how to do, and when to do. They're better than you, who are born around horses. You know, so I don't need to take on that responsibility and take on all that jargon. I just tell her politely, well, I know I have done my best within myself for your horse. If you think you can get better out of it, it's yours. Move it along. I usually horses go backwards, but they never come back and say, well, you were right, or you know, you understand. You know, I understand what you were saying back then. You know, it happened a few times, and I see the horses go back down the ladder.
Yeah.
Some of them disappear off the track. I don't even know where to go. You know, but I'm not a commercial trainer. I don't want to commercial train horses. It's about enjoyment for me. You know, enjoyment. The day that it's no more fun, I'll start training lizards.
I have 4 friends coming for the Gold Cup, and they're horse people. And a couple of them on maybe 20-something horses. So hopefully they enjoy the race, and next year they want to, you know, invest and have a nice horse. So that's my goal. I want to bring a lot of people there for the Gold Cup and just make it something, make it a party time. We come down, have a good time, and enjoy the race. That's my ultimate goal. But like I said, you know, if we can get the people in Barbados, especially around the Turf Club, you know, get a little more professional in each and every way. We would encourage a lot of people to come. But
I think that's a
that is
valid
my
point.
plan.
And I want to ask, I want to talk about, you know, I mean, both of you guys had horses shipped to Barbados, and you know, John Mark's latest one is So Suave, and he won the Coolmore. And I'm just wondering the process, because tonight we were talking about the shipping of horses, and the process and how the horse was managed from the other end. And you know, what's your thoughts on that, John Mark? Ted, he was the man in charge. Tell us a little bit about how that was done and dealt with from Ted's side.
Well, Derek, do you mind if I go first? Because I have to jump off shortly. So
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so with Ted is our guy. Whenever we spot something, we'll be like, "Hey, Ted, this, that." You know, he put us on so many different leads to get horses. He's just a man. He makes it happen, and you know, all the horses were successful. I'm sure he's awfully close to Vividly because she had a chip in her ankle when we got her, and he organized a vet, got her there, got her back. You know, kept her in the stall for 3 weeks, hand walked her for 3 weeks, but then he shipped her off to someone else for the actual shipping. But you know, he was a man. He was our link, so he's still our link. So that is the Ted and I business side. But he's a Renaissance man, and man still trains, so he's still got his business training horses. But all this is almost like a side hustle, you know, or side thing. But hopefully one day he'll make it full time because he's doing a good job. I mean, the last 2 horses he sent there, you know, won, So Suave won, and the other horse ran second. But you know, I was telling some person about everybody always have an excuse with this is my side job, but the man does it well. So kudos to Ted. I wish you all the continued success. I know you have another horse you're going to ship, and I expect him to run well too. So good job, Ted.
Yeah.
Can't say that enough.
Thank you.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to add to Darwin's, but I thought Ted was going to jump in, right? But I was going to say, you know, at Woodbine where Ted currently trains, Ted is not in the top 10, but definitely the man in the top 5 shipping horses from North America to Barbados. Mm-hmm. Now, he's doing a tremendous job, and you know, Ted, how do you manage such a tough task? Because you know, right now you currently have horses that are really actually competing for this Gold Cup that you ship down, and what's your thoughts and the quarantining and all that stuff? Like, how tough a task is that? Because you got to make sure nothing happens to these horses, man.
Love for the animal. Also, these are people's investments. Not only people's investments, these are guys and people I grew up around. I mean, most of these people that are purchasing horses to ship to Barbados are people that I've known from time I was a kid. So if that person is going to entrust me with his investment, I'm gonna do the best I can. I mean, I'm very passionate about horse racing, very passionate with it, animal, and extremely passionate about Barbados.
Hey, Darren,
So,
thanks for joining us, man.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Ella Clarkey, yes, back to that. I mean, anything to do with horse racing in Barbados, if I can contribute, I will. And I see this as my contribution to the industry in Barbados. I mean, I started this back in 2018, I think. John Mark came up and got the chestnut horse. What's the name of that chestnut again, John Mark?
That was what was his name now? Trying to remember here now.
White
Camera, the problem
had
is.
it.
Boy, what was that horse's name?
Chestnut Gelding.
Yeah. I try to remember his name now, Ted boy. It just totally slipped me.
You got it from Pension. I can remember a lot of the details. I just can't remember the name of the horse.
Yeah, plain chain. And Usain Bolt's trainer used to own the horse. What was his name now? No?
All right. When you get back to
Nice quick building.
Is that time when you got to start writing stuff down, because you know there's so much horses you see, so much names, everything, you know.
all right, I'll get to the point where I was trying to make. So, you know, John Mark got that horse and it was entrusted to someone who I thought didn't have a vested interest. I mean, this horse was given to that person and just did as they please. They just saw the dollar sign coming in, and yes, the horse got out. The horse got around the track a couple times a week, but this horse was not being prepped for what's necessary for Barbados. You know, the guy tells you the horse doesn't come off the flight. He's looking to run the horse, or he's pointing for the Gold Cup. And this horse was just another horse for him. So shortly after that, Mark Goodrich was looking for a horse also. And I found a horse for him. And I point blank told him, I will purchase this horse for you, and I'll also look after the quarantine of this horse. I spoke to a couple of people who pointed me in the direction of how to get all the contacts. I went out, I found a farm in Ocala, and I quarantined that horse. And that was my start. 4 weeks later, number 2 came along. I did a horse. I took Real Flair was the first one. I took him down to run on Gold Cup day. He didn't perform that day, but he turned out being the better sprinter in Barbados. And that year, 2018, I think he won 3 of 5 races. And he's still around ticking to this day. So, I mean, yes, know what Barbados needs in terms of horse flesh. That helps me in preparing a horse to ship to Barbados.
No. What's involved in quarantining and involved in getting these horses ready? I mean, you got different steps and points that you have procedures you got to take before the horses get to Barbados, right?
It's very time consuming. It takes up a lot of your time because basically either you have to have several people looking after one horse, which ties up a lot of your resources, or you have one person dedicated to that one horse and that's it, you know. But then you can't expect someone to do a job reduce amount of time, reduce amount of workload. So it's costly. It's time consuming and costly.
Okay, I mean, let's stick on this point right now. Before I want to get back into the racing in Barbados and the Gold Cup coming up and so forth. But I want to stick on this shipping part, and let's get this business, and so people can understand what it takes for people like yourself and for John Mark to receive a horse and for you to get this horse ready. Can you tell us a little bit about like what's involved in terms of food, in terms of storage, and some of the things that people should expect when they buy a horse and have it shipped?
Okay. After you acquire the horse and a decision is made that the horse is going to be shipped to Barbados. I'll say Barbados here because that's where we're from and that's where mostly you contact the USDA. They have a list of requirements from the destination country of what they expect to be done. Among the things that is necessary is all of the bedding, all of the feed, every single thing this horse needs for that period of time in quarantine has to be on site when the USDA rep comes out. They don't allow for any feed trucks, any deliveries. They don't allow deliveries to be made once that quarantine location is approved. Any foot traffic that's coming in to the quarantine area has to be monitored, and it's best to wear rubber shoes because you're expected to be sanitized feet and hand and a change of clothing before you enter the quarantine area. So like I said earlier, it's time consuming and it's always best to have one person looking after the particular horse in quarantine.
Now, I'm just putting up photos of some of the items required for persons like you. Like you said, the bedding. You'll require shavings, and it takes this amount of shavings. You need a foot bath. You say, right? So you got to make sure your feet are clean. You don't want to pass anything onto the horse. Is that what it is?
Yes, disinfectant solution. Yes, that there I think that's one stroke, which is a very strong disinfectant. You'll dilute that with some water and you'll change it daily. And if you step in from the outside, you're expected to dip your feet in there before you enter the quarantine area. And every entrance to the isolation area is expected to have a foot bath. Then you're supposed to post signs so no one that's not on the list of authorized personnel is allowed to enter the quarantine area. And all this is heavily monitored by the USDA. There's a sign-in sheet, like anytime the veterinarian comes to administer her vaccination to the horse, or just to even
Is that the isolation inventory thing?
That's the checklist. There's whoever's in the isolation, they should be on that list. Yes, something similar to that. That's that there's the number of horses in the quarantine. Some quarantines can have more than one horse. So every horse that's in the quarantine will be listed on a sheet like that.
That's great stuff, because I know there are people who want to jump into the game and people who probably are curious, but it's good to know that or to let them know exactly what's involved, so that they're not shell shocked by the time you get the horse for these guys. And and you know, and you got to get the horse across the border. What else can we expect, Ted Holder?
The surprising thing is, I mean, shell shock. I mean, you're gonna want to put a horse in quarantine, so the person is gonna be expected to provide all of that up front. So before the horse even steps into the quarantine, you're gonna be looking at the cost. So as soon as you decide that horse is going to quarantine, you're gonna be having bills. So it's not a cheap cost. You know, it's not like grabbing a horse and kicking it in the field by itself and leaving it. No. I mean, the vet comes to that horse about 5 times before it gets on the plane, because you have to inoculate the horse, because Barbados has a list of requirements for a horse. Basically, every horse before it goes to Barbados requires 3 tests, 3 basic tests, and these are done roughly 14 days apart. So the average quarantine for Barbados lasts 28 days, and then there's 3 to 5 days turnaround before that test comes back. Then you can book the flight. So I mean, the horse is in the quarantine location. Then there's another factor. You ship it down to another temporary quarantine area monitored by the USDA. We use a place called TBIS in Miami. Then there's another location that goes from there to a small holding area at the airport on the morning of the flight. So usually around 2:30, it will go to that location and wait to be loaded. Then you either go on Caribbean Airways or Amerijet, so forth. Yes, these are some of the checklists we need to satisfy the USDA and Barbados government with before we can get the horse off.
Cool, pretty cool, man. I mean, there's a lot of work involved in shipping a horse. I only imagine that the people who are actually purchasing these horses do their homework, and you know, you don't want to surprise them, you know.
Well, it's not like purchasing a horse and kicking out in the field by itself. I mean, you got to provide shade, shelter, and indoor housing facilities to a horse because of the weather. And when you do that, you're usually tying up a barn, because you can house several horses in the quarantine. Horses, excuse me, in the quarantine. But they have to be starting the quarantine at the same time. You can't start a quarantine and then add another horse to it. No. Immediately that quarantine is broken. Because for Barbados, every new quarantine must be done at least 30 feet apart from any other horse or any other animal, bird, chicken, or anything else. No, nothing that's not in that original quarantine is allowed to enter that area. So, say you have a barn of 50 horses, you gotta find somewhere on the farm with shade and shelter to isolate that horse for a month. So it's costly. I mean, are you going to shut down a barn for one horse? Tie up all your staff for one horse? So that's some of the things you got to look into.
So it's a very,
the quarantine.
very delicate operation before the horse actually gets shipped.
Yes. Now, another thing, if you get a horse that's preparing for a race like I've been doing for the last 6 weeks, you have to have a location that has training area. I've been fortunate to be located at Classic Mile, where it has some big fields that I can train on, where there's no other horses. We're not coming in contact with any other horse, and go from there. So basically, so Suave was trained in a field leading up to the race. And when we had to go to the racetrack, we had to shut the racetrack down, wait for it to be groomed, harrowed, then to be able to go on. So I mean, it's tough. And again, this has to be approved by the USDA and Barbados government before we can do that. You got to get permission because we have to make sure anytime this horse comes in contact with another horse, the quarantine is broken.
Very important.
So it's tedious.
I guess you say it's tedious work, but it's necessary work because you don't want to offset any other things happening going into the country that is going to.
Yes, I mean, you have to have a love for the industry in Barbados. I mean, again, I'm passionate about horse racing in Barbados, so I'm not going to take chances. I mean, in the past, I've seen what people have done when they say quarantining horses for Barbados. I mean, they kick them out in the field, and that's it. Before I got involved in this, that was one of the heartbreaking things I saw, because they were taking chances with our industry, doing what they care to, because they did not put Barbados racing in their eyes. They just figured it was a third world country, and they can do what they want, get paid, and no one's the wiser.
So you're speaking mainly the people who were actually doing the job from the other side of Barbados were not really handling the operation too well. But since you got involved, you're saying that you see how delicate this operation is, and it takes some really keen eyes and to stay on top of it for it to run smoothly, right?
Well, I've noticed that before I got involved, and you're not going to shake a tree if you can't do better. I mean, you keep quiet, because what am I going to do? Well, this shouldn't be done, but who's going to rectify the situation? I didn't have the ways or the means. But again, when John Mark claimed that horse, and I saw it, and I couldn't take it no more, I went out and find a way to make it better.
No, well said.
He's the man, Derek. I will hang my hat on a limb for Ted. Right? I told Ted from the beginning, Ted is an opportunity, because it is something that is lacking. Now, I will just cut it here a little bit and say there are two types of quarantine. We'll have horses that probably would have just come out of a sale, like baby horses, and they're not going to go into a working or training quarantine unless an owner decides that is what he wants. Those horses basically come up with sales because they've had a hard lead up in the sales for the gallops. And those horses will go in what we call a rested quarantine, a little recovery time. So it is not as demanding on someone to keep them in a quarantine. Some people actually just put them in small paddocks, turn them out in the fields for the month for their quarantine at that point in time. Most of the horses, they think that Ted is handled. Well, I know of my horse for sure, maybe a few of Darwin's, I'm not sure. The horse of Mr. Good Original. These horses are all in working quarantine, meaning that they remain in training. So a lot does go into it. Ted will tell you, I flew up to Ocala for 10 days during party probably like a week before, so I Suave trip to Barbados. I came back home, so I was there for 10 days prior. And a lot of work does go into it. And I am hoping that Jamaica, Guyana, any other territories that want quarantines done, and they want this caliber of quarantine done, to point them in the direction of Ted Holder. You know, I appreciate everything Ted has done. He's gone beyond anything. As I said, we've had horses come home in Barbados saying, not such good shape before. You know, and the horse that he was talking about that I had before was a horse called Campaigner's Gold.
Yep.
Right? And Ted basically jumped in because I was kind of left stranded. What I was paying for is not what I was getting. You know? And Ted said, look, I'll deal with this horse for you. So he and Chris Griffith came over and worked the horse for me. You know, when he was in quarantine there, he was over at another farm, well, not too far from Classic Mile. Ted had his horse down there for the winter. He came over and helped me out tremendously. Campaigner's Gold was all right, not the caliber of these horses, no, for sure. He came off, he ran fifth in the Gold Cup, but then I won my very next start with him. He had a bit of a joint issue. And after that, he kind of went off the boil. I sold him off. But anybody listening to this show that wants horses quarantine, Ted is the go-to man. You know, I tell him, yes, he's a trainer in Toronto, but he's got his contacts. He knows a lot of people down in Florida that I know he can get it managed. You know, for anybody wanting horses shipped to Barbados or anywhere in the Caribbean, as a matter of fact. He doesn't cut corners, put it that way. You know, I told Ted I wanted certain things done with my horse, wanted certain supplements, wanted this, wanted that, and it was done. When I arrived there, the horse was on the supplements. The jockey actually, I can't say he almost abused me. He looked at me and said, oh, it's you. You're the guy. He said, you're the one who got my shoulders here. They got this horse want to pop my shoulders out. I said, why? He says, man, when you told Ted to give that horse those supplements and put him on this and put him on that, 3 days later, he wanted to pop my arms out. You know, so yeah, you get what you pay for with Ted. That's why I like to say for him. You know?
That's some very good information because you know, Ted currently is in Florida, and usually he would be at Woodbine, but this time of the year he's in Florida. And Ted, this time of the year, is this where most of the shipping happens?
Between now and June, there'll be quite a few horses purchased and shipped. I mean, they can ship any time of the year, but between mid-January to June, July, a lot of horses are purchased. 2-year-olds are sold, mares are purchased and shipped off. I mean, Jamaica buys a lot of brood mares, a lot. Last year, I think my horse ID person did between 35 and 40 brood mares for Jamaica alone. Guyana does between 5 and 10 horses a year, mostly raised in stock. But between Jamaica and Barbados, that's where the bulk. I mean, I think last year Barbados shipped about 15 thoroughbreds for racing, and it'd be another 8 to 10 pleasure horses because that is also still a market.
Wow. Well, I know that you got a few more weeks before you come back to Toronto. So you're out there basking in the sun and enjoying yourself.
No basking. I got a gambler that I'm getting ready for the Gold Cup.
What's the horse called? It's a gambler or it's a gamble?
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble.
Yeah.
And who's the owner of that horse?
Mark Goodridge.
Mark Goodridge. And this is another contender for the Gold Cup.
Yeah, he's currently in quarantine with me. Training and prepping him for the race. He's got some back class. So it's going to be interesting. He's got some back class. Is he at the level of So Suave or Vividly? Yet to be seen. I mean, but those horses have raced in Barbados already. They've gone around the track. You know, he's not a small horse by no means. So he's not going to be as agile as Vividly or So Suave. So how he takes the turns, that top turn in Barbados is going to be very interesting.
Who's the trainer of the horse? Or not named yet?
At present, not sure.
Ted
I
Holden.
will say, pardon me,
Ted Holden.
I'm here.
Ted Holden.
I
So
think
Ted, you making a
Romel,
guest appearance to the Gold Cup, like Safi?
I'm going to say I won't turn it down. I mean, it's one of my dreams to win that race. But Romel Lovell is Mr. Gurud's trainer in Barbados. So is yet to be seen. I mean, I'm here. The horse is under my care. I will be sending down my groom who looks after the horse here presently with the horse for the race, because coming in 10 days to a race is going to be tough to change up much for a race like that. I mean, it's going to be too close to make any changes with that horse.
Now,
So
to the best of your knowledge, yours and John Mark, are there more horses besides the one we keep hearing about? Because I know Kent Lane, he writes about Mohawk, and I think there's a Ramsey horse, Tala something.
Tallahassee Bridge.
Yeah, right. And are there more horses coming into as well? I just saw a video posted earlier this week with Robert Pierce and Patrick Husbands boarding an airplane going somewhere. You don't usually see jockey and trainer moving like that together. Like, are they bringing more horses? What's going on?
Well, Robert and Patrick go way back. I mean, from kids. They actually got licensed around the same time. Pretty close. Weeks apart. So they're closely knit. In terms of horses coming, nominations have closed. So there is an unknown or unnamed horse that was nominated. The owner has paid for a spot. So at up to the second stage, he can name that horse. So I guess, and it's from the Ramsey camp. So it looks like they're trying to figure out which horse will suit Barbados. That thing. I mean, you must remember. John Mark, question for you. The race is worth how much this year? Barbados dollars. All right. Maybe Derek, you can answer that. I think the race.
I think John Mark can answer that. I can answer that. Is he?
Yeah.
If he's frozen? Oh
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the race is only worth 100,000, 150,000 Barbados dollars. So, okay, John Mark's back. How much is the Gold Cup worth this year?
I'm not sure if he's hearing you or not.
The
John Mark,
top-
can you hear us? Oh no, he can't hear us. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can hear us, just join in. But I don't think he can hear us. Yeah, I think somebody was saying 150,000 or something. Barbados.
Yeah. So the tough thing for clients like that, I mean, for the Ramsey crew, they're gonna figure out which races are on the card or wherever tracks there are before they decide to bring a horse or which horse they're gonna bring.
Yeah, I
Because
think
no sense in giving up the big pot in North America to come and win a race in Barbados. I mean, I think winning the race has lost some its glory to the Ramsey camp. I mean, they've won it 3 times.
Mhm.
So you're not going to bring the better stock. And if you've noticed, I mean, Ramsey operation, they don't have Kitten's Joy no more. Now they're back to claiming a lot more horses. Well, they're not claiming as many horses as they were before. So the race is worth 125,000 US. So that's, you win that, you're getting 65,000.
But you know, that's interesting because I mean, like, say for instance, like say let's use Ramsey because he's the most popular name right now. So say for instance, we use Ramsey, and he's a well established horse owner. So he sends a horse down and spends a few $1,000 to get this horse ready and to enter the Gold Cup. And I mean, a little chip out of his income, but he's running plenty other horses here in North America. So it might just be the prestige, the occasion, a chance to lure other interests to Barbados, you know, stuff like that. Could that be it, or something else? You think it's the purse only? Kent Lane thinks it's the cup itself. I don't know, but you tell me.
Ramsey has said that he likes that cup. I mean, that's one of the biggest trophies in his trophy case. You know, he likes the Gold Cup. It's front and center. But he has 3 or 2. The cost associated with getting a horse to Barbados, at the end of the day, after he calculated what it costs for him to ship a horse there and back, it can be a losing proposition.
I think we got a modern day Google working to correct what's happening here. From 125 to 200 is going up every 2 minutes. Maybe in a couple more minutes it'll be 225
US. So the race is worth $100,000 US. You know, right now, to be honest, that's a good purse, but it's the logistics of getting a horse to Barbados that doesn't make it exciting to people. I mean, there are not a lot of stakes on the card. On most racetracks that have a stake, it's not $100,000 US purse. There are many tracks and many prominent tracks that they'll run 100,000 stake race, 75,000 stake race, and you're getting grade 3 horses running in those races just because of the prestige. And it's a lot easier to ship 5 hours by truck and trailer than to spend 14 to 20 days in quarantine, fly there, then return and have to spend several other more days in quarantine after you come back. So whenever a horse comes to Barbados and return to North America, you can see that horse loses 6 to 8 weeks before it's eligible to run again. Just because of the logistics of the quarantine and shipping there and back.
Well, I mean, it's a slick operation, but you know, people always say that the guys who own horses, you know, they can afford it. So, what do you say about that?
A lot has changed. I mean, a lot of it now is business. It's not just about for the rich. A lot of people are into horse racing because of the business side of it. I mean, you've seen a lot more syndicates. You've seen a lot more LLC. There's about 4 or 5 companies out there who are into horse racing who are major players, but they're just business end of it. West Point, that's a business. That's not just a few friends forming a syndicate anymore. There's, I can't call the names, but there's at least 5 or 6 that you can see. The major, Dogwood Stables. They weren't just a few friends. They were business. So there are many syndicates that are out there that are businesses and investing. And the bottom line is, you don't want to lose money in a business.
Yeah, Ted, I'm smiling because I'm just observing John Mark and the kids, because you know, kids these days, they can't see a phone, they can't see a screen without wanting to get in, right?
That's exactly what they want to do. They want to know what's going on here, you know. So here,
Oh man.
Good night.
Yes, there you go.
Hi, Kai.
Kids, they just can't see a scream if I wanted to get in, man. I'm telling you.
Involving everything. My son would like
That's,
to ride
that's,
4 legs, man.
that's the world we live in, man. You know, the kids, they all, attracted to this screen. Now, John Mark, now I couldn't help to see, like, yeah, I know you won the race, Coolmore before, but I think it was a beautiful occasion. Watching it from here on my couch, seeing the excitement around the racing in Barbados. Do you think that, because up to yesterday, I was watching Gold Cups from way back in the 80s, and I couldn't help but seeing, like, the thousands of people surround the track, and that was a beautiful occasion. I think. You think that this year that we're going to see something very similar to that?
I am predicting we'll have crowds like there were in the 80s, probably at this World Cup. People have been turning out to races, even of recent in numbers. The infield and the circumference of the track, I've been seeing a lot of people around there because people just want entertainment, and being that we didn't have a Gold Cup for 2 years, I think that this Gold Cup will be probably one of the bigger and better Gold Cups. And what makes it so exciting as well is that we've got all these new shippers. There's a whole bunch of unknown entities in the sense that you're hearing names, you can look at stats, but to actually come here and to get to go around the track, on that day, to me, it's very open. I'm glad to have gotten in a run. I came out the race good, but I'm not discrediting anybody's horse. It's a horse race. There's so many factors that can go wrong in a horse race. Right. Some of those horses that are shipping in, Mohawk seems to be a pretty decent horse. His stats look, he's been very good at a mile. Not really beyond that, but it all depends on the fractions and how the race sets up here in Barbados. You will find that a horse that can get a mile in decent company will come here and perform very well going 9 furlongs. So I'm not discrediting everybody's horse. I wish everybody luck. The most important thing is that the jockeys and the horses get back safe. That's what I always say. Once my horse comes back safe, the jockey comes back safe, I can live to fight another day. It's not about we want to win this one race, but it is not about this one race. It is about that race and races ahead. Nobody creates or breeds a horse to win one race.
Right. Most importantly,
to get the Kentucky Derby, you got to qualify, right? There's a series of races to get there. Breeders' Cup, the same thing. So, as I said, the most important thing for me is that for everybody, that we have some horses going into the race, and that the public gets to see good caliber horses run, and that the day turns out to be a successful day.
Now after the Gold Cup, now say for instance, your horse win, and say Darwin horse runs right behind you. Does that set it up for the next leg, or for the excitement grows after that? What happens?
Well, you're a year down the road. There are a lot of factors in between there that you have to consider. Like, it is like going back to like with Zaid now. I think he's being unfair in the handicap system. I think the horse has got talent. So I am 99% sure we'll ship this horse out of Barbados. 99% sure.
Wow.
If So Suave comes and wins the Gold Cup, I will ship him back north as well. I've got a few other horses here I can have some fun with. As I told you, this is about fun for me. And I think the Turf Club needs to step it up in some areas to keep things going and keep things attractive. Yes, all purses here are limited. And I don't know if I want to have a horse that I think maybe a graded horse or stakes horse or allowance horse stay in Barbados and run for $4,500 US. That doesn't make sense to me. The horse has got potential, let them go and make some money. If they stay strong throughout the year, then they can ship back here, perhaps to the Gold Cup next year. You know, but in the meanwhile, I've got 2 or 3 other horses that I can still have fun here with, you know.
No, that's interesting. I know that I remember a few years back I saw the horse that Robert Pierce had, Daylight something, and that horse, what was it called?
Daylight Express.
Right, and it came and it ran. I think it ran in the Woodbine Mile. It didn't do too well there, but then the following race it won. So I mean, these horses can actually do well in allowance races and do pretty good.
Yeah, well, with horses you never know, right? I just as the saying goes, you know, horses like almost like a box of chocolates, right? You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But if you can spot talent early, and the most vital thing is that your horse has soundness, and some heart, then I don't. People may say, "Oh, Barbados needs good horses." Yeah, but I understand all of that. But when I think, or I know within myself, that you can take a baby horse and handicap it where it shouldn't be, it doesn't do any good for me as a horse owner. You know,
Right.
I am not going to destroy a good horse to prove to the public in Barbados or prove to the Barbados Turf Club that it's a good horse. Then, in my opinion, is being handicapped. Wrong. You know, those I had a discussion with one of the handicappers, and I don't talk to many handicappers on a regular basis because the reasons I said before, you know, you talk to one and basically we don't know what we are doing as owners and trainers when it comes to handicapping horses. That's their job. We are not to have an opinion. We are just to be dealt whatever hand is thrown at us, right? So when I've asked certain questions of one, he may give me an answer. I ask a certain question of another, he gives me a different answer. And he asks the second question, another question of the third one, he gives me a different answer. They never seem to be on the same page. But I think they're caught on to me asking questions individually. So they don't answer my calls anymore. Right? They probably say, "Oh, John Mark call you? John Mark call you?" Well, we need to come together and find out how we're going to answer John Mark before we get back to John Mark. You know?
That's too funny.
But this is the reality of the matter. That's why I told the Turf Club, I've spoken to certain directors already. And I said, listen, we can do away with the handicappers in Barbados. Put all the stats on paper, email it, the distances, each horse is finished. And a good handicapper can work on that. He doesn't even need to see the race. Because if you throw all the weights, distances between each horse at a good handicapper, he can look at them and handicap a race. Okay? He doesn't need to know if a horse lost a shoe, if it left the gate bad, if it broke left it when it left the gate. That is not a handicapper's job to look at those things. The handicapper's job is to look at distances that horses finish in a race. Right? I've had handicappers tell me, "Oh, your horse didn't drop down. My horse ran completely out in a race that you should have ran out in." But you know what they told me? One told me, "Your horse didn't race a gallop. He didn't look interested." I said, "So more reason why you should have dropped him. They didn't move him." So it's the inconsistencies that come with the handicapping system in Barbados. You know? And it's not only me that has problems with it. They had a meeting the other day, a couple of handicappers, and want to tear up a piece of paper, throw it on the desk in front of the handicapper and walked out. You know?
Wow.
So something needs to be done. That's the bottom line. Because I always say this, the tail don't wag the dog. And we, the owners and the trainers, are the dog. Right? We're the ones making the investment at the end of the day. And respect should be given to that. They're not doing us any favors. Because the day we decide to pull out, where does racing stand in this country? You know, you take so much in there, you don't take no more.
Well, you know, it was interesting because we had last time I had a group on last week, and there was a gentleman who was saying that, you know, the Turf Club, so it is a club, and I know there've been people advocating for to get a new track. Now, does that add anything to this conversation?
The reality of the matter is, right? The Garrison is a historical area. Races have been going on there for more than 100 years. A lot of people don't like change, but it is the hardest course on horses that I've ever been to anywhere in this world. It is not horse friendly. That is the bottom line. And trainers who really care about their horses should advocate for a new track. Barbados horses got some of the biggest joints and leg issues anywhere in this world. Statistically, if you look at the horses in this country, most of them suffer from joint problems. And it is because of that training course. I hardly train down there. I train in the country. I've got 2 fillies that are retired, one at 8 years old, one at 6 or 7, and the legs clean. If I had trained them from the Garrison, that would not be the case for them. Right? It is a very hard course on horses. We need a new track, and I would use down there perhaps maybe once or twice a year, maintain the facility. It has to be maintained, whether the government facilitates maintaining it or not, because the lands belong to the Ministry of Housing and Lands, the government of Barbados. Okay? That's the reality. It's not the lands of the Barbados Turf Club. So it will be maintained because it's an open space, government open space. Right? And maybe we could hold 2 races there or 1 race meeting every quarter. They said they've invested in lights. They invested in lights. They don't use the lights. They want the lights for 25, 30 years. They got the lights. I don't think we use them 20 times since the lights have been in. You know, they're underused because they say, oh, it costs $3,000 or $3,000+ to run a night racing card. But you get a lot of people turn up for night racing. It's easier on the horses because we are in a very hot and tropical climate. So as we walk in those horses out there, 2 o'clock sun on the afternoon, 3 o'clock sun, doesn't do good for the horses. All of that heat and things like that will actually encourage bleeding in horses. Right?
Very good point.
And they're not using the facility that they have now, in my opinion, to their advantage. The lights were put in, and they should be used on a more regular basis. This Gold Cup, they claim all the sponsors want it running in the daytime. Okay? That's one day. What about all the other days? We should be running more night racing. You know? That's the bottom line. Perhaps our horses will give us a bit more longevity if we run in the cooler in the night, rather than having them out in the sun in this hot climate, especially. You know, Barbados is a very tropical climate all year round. And as I said, the Garrison course, we don't have the privilege of moving a rail to find better ground. We're running over the same course week after week after week. Right? The track is not in the best shape. I walked on that track even last race there, and it's mud patches. If they don't want to move the facility, they should look to go to the next step and put in an all-weather surface. You know, that way they may say, oh, it may cost us $20 million to put in an all-weather track. But then you don't have to spend $300,000 every year maintaining a dirt track, because I call it a dirt track because it's not really a grass track. Right? You don't have that money to put out. Right? You can run more races. You can exercise on it on the morning. You can race on it in the afternoon. Your maintenance costs will come down significantly. Right? They can make the track wider because they can incorporate what is now the sand track. Because you don't need the sand track anymore if you can use an all-weather track, because you can train on it. You can make the course a much more user-friendly course. Make the top turn that Ted was talking about earlier, that horses blow. You know, make that a more sweeping corner, because you will now have all that extra land on the inside to utilize. Right? So these are things about getting this here over to all heads is like pulling teeth, right?
So, I mean, like you hit on so many different areas there. Lights, handicapping, surface. That's a lot for the guys running the track to take in and try to put in consideration. That's a lot that got to be done probably. I mean, things like that would be, 2-3 years You know.
Yeah, listen to me. I don't have a university degree, right? I don't have a university degree. I am not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. I ain't a politician. I ain't a professional trickster. You know, I look at things in a very relevant, or from a very relevant point of view. And the Turf Club can do a lot to save money. I've spoken to them about water harvesting. They got roofs down there. We shouldn't be bathing horses with potable water. You know, we got roofs that we can harvest waters off, put in water tanks, using non-potable water to be bathing horses with. Only using potable water for drinking water. They got a well there. I told them they can buy a used water tanker truck from Florida from one of those sales, 16, 20,000 US dollars, carrying anywhere 4,000 to 6,000 gallons of water. Use the brackish water from the well to bathe the horses with, put water tanks, just use the truck to transport into both paddocks. We got roofs up there that photovoltaic systems can be on to bring down the cost. I estimate, I don't know because I'm not privy to the figures, but I estimate that the Turf Club probably spends about $30,000 a month in water. And we could cut that bill down to about a third by doing water harvesting. You know, there are a lot of things that can be done. And that money that's saved can then go into increased purses. That would encourage people to come and perhaps buy more horses, because people like money at the end of the day, right? You got bigger purses, people will bring horses.
That's right. That's right.
So there are a lot of things that can be done, but nobody seems to want to think outside the box. I learned this in life very early. The only way to make money is to spend money.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't want to spend money, then don't be in a business.
That's right. Correct.
That's
Now, I want to ask you, because I know there was a time in the Caribbean when Barbados probably has some of the highest purses within the Caribbean. Is that still the case, or that has changed?
Still is.
Still is.
Even with the conversion, Jamaica doesn't compare.
Yeah,
So,
but Barbados has they have the purses here. I won't say that they're decent, but input costs in this country is very, very high for anything. The feed costs is absurdly expensive, you know.
What's the value? You need to have taxes.
I know that the Turf Club, to be honest with you, I would like to be fair, right? What we pay to keep a horse at the track,
I know.
I think it is starring is like $150. That's like 75 US a month, and then $50 for track levy, 25 US. So, let's say 100 US a month to house a horse at the track. Really and truly, that's very accommodating by the Barbados Turf Club. That is the truth. It is very accommodating at that price. Most jurisdictions don't charge you for stalls because you're racing there, right? But in saying that, that is why I said to them on more than one occasion about photovoltaic systems and water harvesting, because if you can reduce your costs on those two things, just the two of them, then you can then, increase purse monies, right? They should look at going in the direction of an all-weather track, because I know for sure I've done work on that track myself and have rectified issues with it when it's got cut up really, really bad. And the cost to maintain that track is horrendous, and there's no downtime really per se to allow the track to get better. They put in plugs of grass, they put in pieces of grass, they do verti draining, all kinds of stuff to try to get it going. But the reality matter is that the horses run the same exact area of the track consistently, and you will never be able to get that growth in there. Even this month's no break between tomorrow and the Gold Cup, they're going to try their best to get the track in a decent condition, but it's not long enough. It's not long enough. My opinion was I don't even think they should have had races tomorrow. That race they should have been scrapped. And then
I want to ask you about the condition of the track, because I know you're frozen, but maybe perhaps you're hearing me still. But I mean, like, realistically, when there's race day, what prevents racing from going? Isn't it usually just rain, or is there something else going on that you're talking about?
It's generally rain. If we get torrential rain, there's an area between the 4 furlong going up towards the 3 furlong mark that is the lowest lying area of the track. It doesn't drain very well. About 2 years ago, we put some what we call soakaways, dug some sucks to take some of the water off to send the water subsurface because that area used to flood. And they've worked very well because it doesn't flood or get as soft as it used to because it's moving a lot of the water off the surface. However, that area is also very close to a bunch of trees along the roadway, so it doesn't get the early morning sunlight to help to dry the track out and things like that. So it always tends to remain a bit soggy. So it was always a trouble area from back in time, you know. So then again, I think if we went to all of the surface, you don't have those worries, you know.
I see Ted keeps shaking his head every time you say all weather. I don't know if he's feeling it or not.
I'm feeling it, but there's also another reason. The Bars Turf Club is housing on a historical area, so they're limited to what they can do. Like the trees he just mentioned, you can't touch those trees. Those trees are 300 years old. So
And the ones that have died off, they've replanted trees in recent years to restock that area with trees. You know, they can trim the trees, but you can't eliminate them. You know. But in reality, matter is, if racing is to really go somewhere in Barbados, we need a new facility.
that's a must. For the growth, it is needed because more horses can be housed. They can put in the necessary stuff. They can go to solar, which is the craze in Barbados right now. You can build facilities where they use the roof. As John Mark said, they can collect the rainwater, house it. They can use the roof to generate electricity and sell some back to the government.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with 5 big buildings or 5 buildings pointing in the right direction, they can house enough electricity to support themselves and a community around.
Yeah. Most race courses, as you would imagine or you would see, most of them have a lake incorporated in them. A lot of courses in the US. And the technology now is that you're kind of getting bang for your buck because they have solar panels that they actually use to float on water, float on lakes. So you can use the lakes to get water for your irrigation purposes. You put the right type of fish in there, you can feed people. You got bass, and you can put bass or tilapia. So that's another area. Not to say that you're going into for the aquaponic side of it, but you try to utilize any facility that you have to its maximum. But they have new systems where if you put in a lake, you could actually put solar panels to float on the lake. And they actually it's been proven that they produce more electricity when they incorporate them with water, because some people actually, when you wet them or you put mist on the panels, it actually enhances the amount of energy that the panels absorb, and they produce higher electricity than other panels. Some people actually put sprinkler systems on their panels or misters to help things. So there's a lot of things that can be done. So if they build a new facility to incorporate a lake intake, they will use it for irrigation purposes, for the poly track, even if they decide to go poly and turf. The water, you never go wrong with water. Washing down, irrigation. As I said, they can put the solar panels there, so the lake will become an area to house the solar panels, so they don't necessarily need roofs, although they would have to have roofs because of housing of horses and infrastructure. You know, but the thing is, if they don't move soon, they will miss the boat in the solar power market, because at the end of the day, we are an island, and the Barbados Light and Power can only sell so much electricity. And when they meet their quota, they're not going to be taking electricity from providers that have solar panels, because then what are they going to do with it? You understand? So there's going to be a cap at some point in time as to the amount of electricity that you can return to the grid. And I perhaps see another 5 years from now, if that, Barbados Light and Power allowing more providers or suppliers to link onto their grid, because what they're gonna do with the excess electricity, you can't put it in a bottle, you know.
You know,
So
I wanted to draw a point because I remember some years back, I was in Barbados and they were arguing about a bus stop that was taken down. No, yeah, it was taken down a move. I'm like, they were arguing about the location, and I'm like, well, why not? Why can't you have 2 bus stops? So why not have another track? Because if the Garrison is a historic site, I'm pretty sure they'll use that up. I actually last weekend I realized that they don't. I guess they don't play sports on there no more because the grass was look pretty high inside, and you know, it didn't look too attractive. But I'm just saying they can probably use that site for different activities if it's a historic site, and start on a well, they don't have to be the persons running the next track. It could be persons like yourself, others, whoever wants to be involved. I'm not sure.
I said that if I won the Florida lottery, I want those big lotteries, I will put down a facility. Not only horses, but a dog racing facility as well. Because everybody in Barbados can't own horses, right? It's only reach a certain people's income bracket. And this is something many years ago when Bruce Bailey was on the board of the Barbados Turf Club. I actually still got the file somewhere here in my office. I had mentioned about putting in a dog racing facility because you have the infrastructure there already. And how our grandstand is built, where our parade area is, we could have incorporated a dog track just around that area. And I call it, I say poor people's sport, because a man can keep a dog home. And okay, sorry, you got tattoos. Okay. Right, so all right, that's the stamp memory thing. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, so the dog racing track is something that people from all areas in Barbados could have gotten involved in. And the betting from the dog racing track would have helped to increase the purses in the horse racing industry. So one would have helped to boost the other. You know, it would have had the facility being used on a more regular basis year round. Right? There's so much that can be done, but I tell you, it's to get the people to think outside the box is hard, man.
This is a very interesting twist. I never saw this coming, the dog track, because I mean, I myself, I wouldn't mind showing up at the facility, say, because you know Barbados get dark around 6 o'clock. So if I show up around 7:30 when it's cool and it's a more intimate space and watch the dogs run, that might be something for me to do.
That was just the point. You know, we're tourist base, right? It was a tourist base. So you want something for tourists to do. You want to use your facility to the maximum you can use it. You know, we can't run horses every week because it destroys the track one. You don't have the sponsorship. You get money from the lottery, and then there's some money coming in from the government, from the betting levy or whatever the case is. But through COVID, obviously, money had to be put in other things, health purposes, right? So a lot of that money didn't come forward. I guess it will be honored at some point in time. But with the dog racing facility, the average, it costs about $30,000 to raise a horse in Barbados, for the exception of breeding, right? And you struggle to get a nice $15,000 if you want to sell that horse to somebody. So it's really a hobby. You don't make anything out of it. A horse has one foal a year. One foal. It's a 4-year process before that sees the track. The mother and foal for 1 year. Then the horse is 2. It doesn't race to the back end of 2, almost 3, before it sees the track. All the time you're feeding this horse. The horse has one foal. A dog is having a litter of puppies. A litter of good greyhound puppies at $4,000 or $5,000 a pop, and you get 8 puppies, that's $24,000. And that's in 9 weeks. Not in 3 years. That's in 9 weeks. A dog is taking 9 weeks to get puppies. And then in 8 weeks' time, they're weaned off and ready to be sold. So a dog could give you $24,000 or thereabouts in puppies that could potentially become race dogs and get the people in the lower brackets. I'm not going to keep a dog at home in his backyard. Bring it and train it on the same facility
or wherever he chooses to train it, right? So it's a window that was there, and I think it's still there that should be explored. Because a guy can throw 2 dogs or 3 dogs in the back of his car, get down to Brandon's Beach or Brighton Beach or wherever and swim them, exercise them. The same kind of work they put in a horse, they put in a dog. And it's entertainment for people at the end of the day. For the tourists, for locals, gives people something to do, creates employment for young people. You know, a guy might be able to feed 2 dogs, but he can't feed a horse. He may not know how to deal with a horse, but he may know how to deal with a dog. So there's a lot of things that need to be incorporated. I don't want to get on the topic of dog racing because there's a horse racing show. But I think one can help the other.
Well, I think this is very interesting. Me personally, because I mean, yes, this is horse racing, and we want to talk horses. But and you're a horse trainer, and Ted is a horse trainer. But I think this is very interesting because I agree with you completely that it's a poor man's sport in terms of you can get more people involved. In terms of the sponsorship and money involved in dog racing, I wonder if it would be viewed the same way. Now, is there any place else in the Caribbean that does this kind of sport? You know, is there another place in the Caribbean that do dog racing? I'm just curious because
Puerto
this is a whole new twist.
Who used to do it, I am not sure. But we don't have to. We can be leaders. We don't have to be followers. We may go and start it in Barbados now, right? And then there's an export market for dogs to other Caribbean countries to start the sport in those countries.
So, but you're saying you're saying not to lead the horses out, but definitely there's an opportunity for something else.
Use your facility as a multi-purpose facility.
Gotcha. Okay.
Incorporate.
Ted, you look like you wanted to say something really badly about this, Ted.
There's a positive and there's a negative, and I want to touch on the negative right now. The positive is if there's a way of bringing income into the turf club, it should be utilized. It should be utilized. You touched on a point earlier. You asked if the Garrison is still used for other stuff. The rugby club is still housed at the Garrison, and it's still the average Joe. That's his exercise area. Every afternoon, you see hundreds, if not 500, close to 1,000 people there using the Garrison to exercise. In the mornings, there's still the guys who they're walking or running, along with the turf club, not the turf club, the Barbados Defense Force. That's the training facilities for their athletes, the soccer players.
Well, I mean, because I'm just judging from how the grass looked on the inside. That's all.
There's a patch.
It's been a long time for me, but that's all I'm saying.
There's that spot just opposite between the 4 and the 3 furlong. That's always relatively tall and boggy. That's where the bad drainage is also in that area. So the tractor doesn't go in there too often.
Okay. Well, I still like. I know this is a horse racing, so I definitely like to explore and expand on that the dog talk, because I think it's very interesting. I think it will open up a whole new thing in Barbados. Actually, I think we should
save that for another show.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this definitely can do. Definitely, probably open a whole new market too, because then you got to bring in greyhounds, coming from somewhere else, and that's a whole breeding side. But let's maybe just talk about horse racing for now, because So Suave is a favorite right now. I mean, right now there's no other horse that's on top of your horse, John Mark, because all the horses they're talking about, they're not here yet. I mean, you can talk about horses that because based on experience or based on trainers or jockeys or whatever, but they haven't run yet and they're not here yet. I think you got the number one horse, and I think people should be aware of this. and and recognize that So Suave means business as well.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that he can get his job done, you know, based on his last performance, his last 3 performances, actually. It shows maybe he's peaking at this time in his career. He came off of 2 wins in Woodbine on 2 different surfaces. He came here on a track that's not so forgiving and maneuvered around this course pretty easily. I mean, Patrick, as I said, is what to say about Patrick, the maestro, you know? I mean, as he said, it was just a steering job. So I am just hoping and praying, more so for my wife, because she's the owner of the horse, that he does stay on board and we can get the job done in the 2023 Sandy Lane Barbados Gold Cup.
No, something, John Mark, I was a bit surprised at. I don't remember the last time I saw a horse opening betting in Barbados at such a short favorite,
It's true.
being its first start in the island.
I think they had a lot of Irish tourists in the stands.
You think it's the Irish?
You think it was the Irish, Ted, or was it the Woodbine guys that came down to Barbados and was betting heavily on that horse? What was it?
Whatever it was. 25 minutes to post, betting open the horse is even money favorite.
Yeah,
And
it's
he
true.
went off at 6 to 5, 8 to 5.
I think 6 to 5. Somebody told me 6 to 5.
Yeah.
I don't generally play my horses. I got some young guys that are very enthusiastic, and a few other fans around the track. Don't matter what I have running, these guys back my horses. And I can have a 3-foot horse running, and the odds always be short, right? Always, because they know when they're coming with some type of artillery. And
But-
usually the horses perform well. Usually, my horses are hardly out the money. Well, they're winning or placing. I've been fortunate to have a good team around me. The guys, I mean, me and them butt heads once in a while, but at the end of the day, I tell them, listen, this is my program. We get up early in the morning. We got to make some money, you know? So everybody pulls together. We got guys that follow the horses, and I don't generally bet on my horses at all. If I see one at big odds, like I think
Zahid.
the code, for example, the code went off, I think Boxing Day at 890 or something like that to win, right? I went and drop $100 on him. So, but generally, I don't go and play my own horses. I leave that for the punters and the fans, because if I drop no money on them, I get short in the odds. So I leave that for the people. Let the people come and say, man, I get some money off your horse there. That makes me happy, you know, because that encourages people to come around the track.
Yes. Yes.
You know, if you got owners or trainers that drop down big money on their horses and shorten up odds, it's not good for the betting public.
Yeah.
It's not good for them. Because
that makes a lot of sense, because I mean you're absolutely correct on that. Now I know we gotta go in like 8 minutes, but I want to ask you quickly about you say you those 2 horses, you might ship them out of Barbados, and how serious are you on that?
About 99% sure right now.
And where would you ship those horses, sir?
Up by you.
There you have it. Now, would you have another trainer, or would you be under your name?
Not under my name. I only train in Barbados. So the gentleman,
Are there restrictions, country restriction?
the gentleman there next to you, I think he'd be managing my affairs.
I see. Well, you have a good guy if that's the case. I've been fortunate enough to be around him for several months now, and he's pretty serious about what he does. He do run a tight ship. I think that most Barbadian guys who are involved in racing at Woodbine should recognize that he's definitely serious about what he does, and should take what he does serious. He's trying to accomplish a few things. He has a checklist of things that he wants to do, and I think it's a good opportunity. I'm actually looking forward to a couple of his horses this year to see them run. I won't call any names because I don't want to. I don't know if he wants me to call any names or not, but maybe Ted. Ted, maybe you might want to speak on those things.
My assistant will be out this year. She's had a good winter off. She was on race last year, but looking forward to her. She's grown, and she started back training. Whoa, January 2nd. So she should be doing well. Uh, the ones there in Ocala, the gray, she should be doing well. Yeah, he's back in training 21 days now. 21 days, still jogging, no rush to turn him around yet. I mean, he was out in the paddock. One good thing about him is he had 4.5 months off, and he's grown quite a bit. He got some bulk. I mean, he's never going to be a wide horse, but he's gotten tall and well muscled now. The other, Mr. Speaker Colt, who's down here with me, he grew. He's now close to 16 hands. Before he was a little short, stocky guy, but he's grown up a bit, and he might have his first breeze next week. Then there's the 3 2-year-olds I got here with me. I got a Bally Colt, Mr. Speaker Philly, and a Copper Bullet son, also Copper Bullet 2-year-old. And then that's it down here. My times have been spent between those and quarantining these horses, because I should have been in the hair business. Hair prices down here are expensive. I mean, a regular bale of TNA that we'll pay $10 for in Canada, you gotta pay $30 for down here.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. 45 pound bale of hay, $30 US.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Ted. I would like somebody. I hope they got farmers in Barbados and people that own horses in Barbados listening to this. When I told them about the hair prices in Florida the other day that I saw, I actually took pictures when we went to the hair store. When I told them they got to pay $6 here, $12 Barbados to me for a bale of hair, they want to quarrel. I shouldn't be paying that amount of money for hair and this. As I said, well, then y'all should go and bring it in from the United States. See where you got to pay. Our grass quality here is better than some that's up there. Some of that grass up there is hard and coarse. We got pretty decent grass down here. This horse so suave. After I introduced him to the Barbados hair, he refused to eat any of the hair that was in his hair neck that he came with. You know, he didn't want to touch it anymore. It was like dessert. He's not eating dessert. He was eating some old beef before, some hard texture beef, and now he's eating filet mignon. You know? I can't get the people down here to pay more. I'm in a hair baling business as well.
What's your main type of hair you got there? You got Pangola?
I use a lot of Pangola. We got something
called very high in protein.
Antigua grass or bastard Pangola, which is very similar to the Pangola. And Transvaal and coastal Bermuda grass. This is the same Bermuda grass that you guys get in Florida because that was brought in here by seed. And the people quarreling about paying $6 for a bale. And you just let them know you're paying from $19 and up, from the cheaper end up to nearly $50 for a bale of grass US. You know?
I mean, just today I paid $49 for a bale of alfalfa. $49 US per bale.
Exactly.
And if you cut it back and you get, even this, though this is alfalfa, I mean, this is 100 pounds. But if you give a horse a flake of that per feeding, it's gone. And you can't just feed alfalfa because it's going to be gone in half an hour. And then they're going to be without hair for the rest of the night. So you got to mix it with some TNA, fill the hair net with TNA.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what you do, I mean, again, here prices are killing you. Here prices have made it very expensive to be here.
Anyhow,
Well,
guys, I gotta
guys-
run off. Derek, thanks very much.
Yep.
Thank you again.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah, for sure. I wish everybody in the Gold Cup good luck. Hope all the horses have a safe journey. They all return safe. We have some fun going forward. All the jockeys will have good trips and try to build the racing in Barbados.
For sure.
You're
John
gonna
Mark,
get one better.
hang on before he goes. I promise me that if you do win this Gold Cup, you come back and we talk about this all over again, okay?
Yes, sir. I'll get my wife on board.
Yeah, definitely. Well, she's the owner, according to you. Not you
owner
and
of
her, but she's the owner.
The owner.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, you're gonna be like Mr. De Silva. Good luck to everybody.
Good luck.
Okay, guys. Thanks for joining me.
All right.
Best of luck to you guys, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. All
Thank you.
right.